All right, guys, so I want to give you 3 simple things to do that can go a long way to improving gut health. Now, the connection between the gut and the brain is very, very close. So the gut is basically described as the second brain, and obviously brain proper being up the top here. So the vagal nerve, or the vagal nuclei complex, the vagal complex is something that basically is a very, very big cranial nerve, the 10th cranial nerve that connects all of our organs to our brain, and it does a lot of very important things. It's really important that that guy communicates very well with the gut, because basically what the vagal complex is doing is firing down to tell the various valves to open and close at appropriate times in the intestines and throughout the intestinal wall, and it's also driving the movement of the smooth muscle. It's causing the smooth muscle contraction, so it's basically causing peristalsis to happen, etc. There's migrating motor complexes within the gut that these vagal nuclei are firing down to, controlling the whole time. So really the brain is kind of in charge of what's going on down here. Now there can obviously be information from here going up that can throw the whole thing off. So 3 simple things you can do with that neurology in mind to improve your gut health, your peristalsis, etc. So the first thing, the simplest thing to do, is actually to include intermittent fasting in your lifestyle. When you are not digesting food all of the time, this gets to rest, and in doing so it gets to recover, the same as anything else that has a contraction to it the whole time. So intermittent fasting, very simple ways to do it is to have 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of feeding. In that 16-hour window, you want to be basically just drinking water. Okay, so obviously you're on an empty stomach and you're drinking water during that fasting time. If you've never fasted before, it's a very simple way to do it. People tend to do it between feeding time, basically between 12 and 8 or 1 and 9. So you eat basically through that period of time, and you eat sensibly and eat clean in that period of time, and then you have this long 16-hour gap where there's no food intake. There's lots of details of that online if you want to look into it any further. So that's one thing you can do. If you don't fancy fasting, another thing that you can do is basically first thing in the morning before you eat, even if you just put your breakfast back by about an hour, is to drink water. So drink a lot of water on an empty stomach. Around 1.5 litres is something that's going to help detoxify and basically help your lymphatic system and help the gut do what it needs to do to keep you healthy and to improve the communication from here up. Okay, and then once you've had the 1.5 litres of water, you don't need to down it in one go. You can drink it gradually over a period of time, but on an empty stomach, really important to do that. The third thing that you can do, again using water, this time we're gonna actually fire that 10th cranial nerve, is to gargle with water before you eat. Okay, so every time before you have a meal, and this is especially if you have any digestive problems, take some water in the mouth and gargle with it hard for basically about as long as you can until you start feeling some kind of fatigue around these muscles, and then you can discard the water or swallow whatever you want to do with it. It's up to you. But in gargling fires the uvula, which are the muscles at the back of the throat there, and those guys are controlled by that vagal nerve, that 10th cranial nerve. So before you eat, you can fire the 10th cranial nerve by gargling water, and that's going to help this guy, this 10th cranial nerve, fire down to improve the control of the gut. Okay, so 3 things you can do. You can use intermittent fasting, which helps the gut relax and helps your body detoxify. You can do water consumption, 1.5 litres before you eat every morning, and this stuff will have its best effects when you do it consistently over several weeks of time, or gargling before you eat and doing it pretty hard until you get just a little bit of kind of tension in the throat, and then you want to stop and let that relax. So you do that every time before you eat. So 3 simple things with a little understanding of how the brain communicates with the gut and vice versa that can really improve your digestive health.